Hello everybody, wee Paddy from across the shuck, and I'm doing a face-to-face video this morning because at the end of this wee video I've something I want to add, but I want to do it so that you can look into the whites of my eyes when I say it. Right, there's controversial. But what this is, you've seen in the title, it's Paddy's top 10 things to look for when you want to buy a knife. Now this is more geared towards somebody coming into the knife community or somebody wanting to start a channel. Some of these tips would be handy to use, and I'll try and point them out as I'm going through, but this is more for people that are looking to buy a knife and they've never really done it before. This is a guideline, basic guideline, that's all it is. So, well, let's just start at number one, which is always a great place to start. Let me just get this and set this wee book up, and then I'm not just looking down as often. But the first thing that I put down here is if you want to get into the knife community and you want to start getting half decent knives, my one thing that I would recommend is you learn how to sharpen. I'll probably say that a million times. No, I'll not say it a million times. I'll probably say it a few times during this video. But learning how to sharpen is just so important, especially if you're going to make this a hobby that you want to put on YouTube and you want to keep your knife sharp, because you can guarantee if your knife isn't sharp and you make a video, the day you pull it out to show how good your knife is, it'll not be sharp. It always works like that. Always works like that. So, if you're just around and if you're just new to the knife community, pick knives that are easy to sharpen. So if you go into a store or if you're looking at a script of what a knife's like, pick a knife that's easy to sharpen, because there's no point being a reviewer of knives if the knives, there's no knife too hard. In a regular basis knife, there's no knife that's too hard to sharpen. They all sharpen. You just have to know how to sharpen and you'll get better. But if you're just around, a knife that sharpens easy is easier for you to use and keep using if you can sharpen it yourself. You can't do a proper review if you're not going to sharpen the knife and bring it back and show that, you know, it's easy to resharpen. That's what people want to know, especially maybe the younger ones in your community. They need to learn how to sharpen. So I think it's nearly our duty to teach them. I didn't learn till late on, but I learned and I'm getting better at it. But it's now a huge part of the knife hobby for me, is being able to get a blade sharp, and that pleasure. I was watching somebody the other day. Was it geared towards gear? I think that was his name. I'll put it down below anyway. But he was sharpening with a KME system, but this was his third go and he got it wrong the first two times. And the joy, he got a beautifully sharp edge, and the joy he had at getting that. And I get that every time. Whenever you get a blade razor sharp and you get a bit of paper out, I always have wee bits of paper around me. You get a bit of paper out and you get your knife and you go along it and you hear that there's no resistance, just all the way down the blade. That is a joy that never goes away. Never goes away. This is my grail knife. Always was, always will be. I just love it. The Benchmade 940. So, there's one. That was a wee bit elongated because I think it's very important that you pick a blade when you're just starting that you can sharpen, that's easy to sharpen, and learn how to sharpen. That's one of the first things I would do, is get a basic knowledge that you can get a blade sharp. Now, the second part, and this is important whether you're buying a knife for yourself or you're buying a knife for the channel. Now, like every one of these rules, I have broken them. So it's not a strict and fast way, but it's something if you stick to, you'll probably waste less money than I have. The knife should be aesthetically pleasing. I.e., when you look at the knife, you have to think, oh, I like that. I would have that. If you can do that as a reviewer, you tend to not buy what the masses buy. I can't afford to buy what the masses buy. So if I like the knife, I'll save for it and I'll buy it because I like the look of it. And I think then when you're reviewing that knife, doesn't matter whether it's a £5 knife or not now, but when you're reviewing it, you have a bit of passion in it. And it comes across. I love watching people with passion, whether it's a $5 knife or a $500 knife. It's the same thing. You can see in their eyes they actually like what they're trying to promote to you as a reviewer. And if you're promoting something, I want to feel that you actually like that. You haven't just went, oh, I'll get that £5 one, that'll do for the channel. No, you'll get away with it for so long, but me personally, I'll stop watching you if I don't see passion. Just my opinion. Look, I've made the mistake. I see something one day, I love it, I order it, and I think the next morning, I have a terrible habit at night time in bed looking through, trying to keep up with the knives that I like. I go through, I order them in the middle of the night and I'm going, oh, Stephen, what did you do that for again? Half the times I forgot I've ordered them and I'm not tired. Right. Things about the knife just to think about. Now, these are just simple things, right? And sometimes you see if you write this list down, if I would follow this, I would make so many less mistakes. If you're going to buy a knife for use, or you're going to buy a knife that you're going to portray is for use, for somebody to buy it for a certain use, well then think about the blade. What thickness is the blade? What style is the blade? How easy will this blade that you're going to promote as I say an EDC knife, how good will it cut cardboard, paper? You know, simple things. A bit of rope, wood. You have to think what the blade should be for that knife. If you're going to portray it as an EDC knife, it has to be able to carry out EDC tasks. If it's going to be a hard use knife, it has to be a hard use knife. And then you get something like the BM, which is in between. It can do a fair bit of hard use because look at that tip. Look at the thickness of the blade stock. Stocky little knife, but it can do both. Not the best cutter in the world, not the best hard use. So there is knives out there for everything that you would want. So just check that you're getting the right blade stock for what you're portraying the knife's going to be. Sorry, I'd gone on to prying. Yes, I joined 2 into 1 there. That was 3 and 4, to be honest with you. Thin blade, thick blade, prying, whatever. And then you've got that one in the middle, which is something like a 940. There's plenty of other ones like a 940 that are mid-use that can do both. And they are, for me, that's why this is the best EDC in the world. Because if I go out with this, there's nothing, I don't believe in any day's work that I can't do with this knife. Now, another thing is when you're buying a blade, depending on where you live, especially across the shuck in America, Australia, whatever, if you're in a humid or you're just a sweaty person, make sure you buy a non-corrosive blade or one that's as good as stainless. Remember that stainless just means it's stainless. It doesn't mean it doesn't rust. So, but there is LC200, there's the H1 series, there's plenty of knives if you're going to buy for your own personal use, which is going to be in that sort of environment that you can go towards, or even the higher stainless ones. Always think of that if that's your area, because there's nothing worse than paying all that money for a knife. You put it away in your box, it's dry, and then one day you go to get it and it's covered in rust. It's terrible. So I would do that. It doesn't, it doesn't affect me, but I've heard so many people or seen so many knives that have been pulled out. Oops, too long since I checked that. Now, and here's a really good one. If you're a budget man, this is why I look an awful lot at night times and go through the knife channels that sell knives. We don't have as many over here in the UK, so I do spend quite a lot of time trolling. Remember, there's always a cheaper version. There's always a cheaper version. So, I've got my grill knife in my hand here. Right, I wasn't going to do this, it wasn't planned, but here we go. Before I got this, and Jeff Jewell gifted me this. Before I got this, I had this. This is the Ganzo. This is the Benchmade. Size-wise, they just don't look anything like each other. But this was my favourite knife I've had it in all. There's G10, 3 different colours, and I've had all 3. This is the carbon fibre, which is I think it's the last one left. I gave one away the other week, an orange one. But this was my cheaper version of this. I mean, this was $20, and I'm sure this is 140, 100. I'm not sure. Maybe, no, I think it's more than 140. I'm sure this is up in the $180. I know it's £200 over here, so there you go. That's the difference. So there's always a cheaper model. Always a cheaper model. And don't. Well, I'll come to that again. Another thing you need to learn that I think is another very important thing is if you're going to buy a knife, never mind learn how to sharpen. When you sharpen your edge and you get an edge that's really good, and you use a fixed system, or you learn to sharpen by hand, once you do that initial sharpening and you get your apex all the way down, it's fully sharpened from tip to toe, strop. Don't sharpen every time it goes blunt. Why take that metal off? Strop. And if you're not I'm not a hard user. I will maybe only have to actually sharpen that once a year. And obviously, this is probably not a good example because I probably use this more than most, but I don't have to sharpen it a lot. I strop it and bring it back. And you can do that with most knives. And especially the lesser steels. If you sharpen them every night at the end of the day, they'll do you for work the next day. So strop and learn how to strop. You can blunt a knife by stropping. So there is a knack to it. It looks dead simple. You'll see us doing it on the channel, but there is a knack to it. Learn how to strop. It saves the metal in your knife just wearing away. Now, and again, when you're buying a knife, this is something like, don't overthink it. Have a price set in your mind, right? This month I can afford to buy this. And you might have 4 or 5 different knives that you fancy having in that price range. Don't overthink it. Because as a reviewer, you'll end up coming back to that price range again. You'll normally find you get a price range and that's yours. That's the one that you settle for most of the time. Now, don't overthink it. Just pick a knife that you like on that particular day and be happy you bought it. Yeah? Just as long as you like it. Because if you don't like it, and sometimes you can overthink something and you end up with a knife that you think everybody else wants. You see, when you put it up on your channel, you get channels are great for humbling you and making your opinion valueless, because you can put up a knife one day and it can be a £200 knife and you'll get, just for instance, you'll get 100 views. The next day you can put up a $10 knife and get 1,000. So just people out there are finicky as you are, as we all are. So don't overthink it. If it's a knife that you like and you'll want in your collection, get it. Just get it. It doesn't have to be the most popular knife of the time. I don't do that. I can't follow the trends. There's channels like Slicey Dicey and other great channels out there. Lee over at Love Them Knives, the Bird channel. They have knives that are beyond my sort of budget range. But they can afford it. And that's great. I love watching them channels for the fact that they get knives that most of them I'm never going to get. But I'll see them, and I might get one of them down the line. I've always said that, and now I have knives that I never thought I would have. So, there we go. If it's for EDC, and this is a tip, if you're going to call a knife for EDC, in my opinion, for EDC, just everyday use, a medium-sized knife. You don't want, this to me, most of the time, you would not call this big Code 4 an EDC. There's not many people would use this on an everyday basis. There is plenty who do, and maybe workmen and things like that, and that's absolutely fine. I know the fat man used his all the time, but very few. Most people will use a medium-sized knife, and the reason they do that is because it's easy to carry. You don't want to carry a big knife like this if you're in a factory setting, if you're wearing a suit or trousers. You know, that's a good jean or work trousers knife. This can go in anything. This can go to church on a Sunday. So an EDC knife that you hear us all talking about is usually a medium-sized knife, i.e. about 8 inches, give or take, half an inch or an inch down the way and half an inch up. But that's what I would call an EDC. And if you stick to that sort of, I think between 7 and 8 is an EDC knife. So, inches. Now, this is another great tip if you're going to come into the knife community, or if you want to start using knives and carrying knives. You will find out very quickly that you don't know what you done before you had a knife, because you will use it so often. And it'll just amaze you when you start carrying a knife, how much you use it and how much other people see what knife you have, and they're interested in the fact that you tell them, oh, well, I've just started collecting knives. This is why I do it. And they want to get in on that conversation with you. But also, everybody you know will start to realise, Paddy has a knife. I'll go and borrow his knife. I need to get that cement off that window. And let me tell you, that is just not an uncommon, request for some crazy idea. They think a knife would be good for prying stuff off, because they don't know. So, if you can carry a secondary knife, i.e. a little small knife, or a multi-tool knife, but a little small knife, preferably a cheap one. This one isn't a particularly cheap one, but a cheap small knife is the ideal knife. If somebody says, can I borrow your knife? And you take it out and you give it to them to use. It is also good to keep your blade good, because if you don't need your big blade, keep it. Keep it safe and use this smaller one for the task. And it just means that your main blade stays sharp for longer in case you need it. Now, number 10, strop. I'm going to do it again. Learn how to sharpen and strop. Just don't make excuses. Just learn how to sharpen and strop. I'm just looking up there and there's 17 minutes gone on these 10 little things. But I think they're worth it if you're just starting, or if you're just starting a channel, or you're just starting to collect knives. Some of these things, maybe when you listen back, if you do a second time, it'll resonate in your head and you think, yeah, it makes sense, But the whole point is that you have to have knives that you like to get any sort of, for me, passion across. A deadpan just run through the specs of a knife really doesn't do it for me. Now, there's plenty of people, that's what they want. They want specs. And that's absolutely super. There's plenty of channels that do that. But you don't have to do that. Be your own person. Now, this is the controversial bit. This is why I'm sitting facing the camera. I put a picture up on Instagram yesterday of a little knife. Oh gosh, I put it away now. Doesn't really matter. It was a Fura gear from GearBest, and it was a copy of a Cinder. It's in titanium and S35VN, so they say. Probably it's CR13 or D2, Chinese D2. Doesn't really matter. That's not the point. I put this picture up because GearBest has sent it to me. Now, I thought nothing of it. I don't even have the Cinder. It wasn't even in my, because when I look at the Cinder, when I went today to have a wee look at it again, it's 3 CR13. I just don't buy. I don't buy knives that are, I don't buy many knives that are under 8 CR13. When I'm buying a traditional knife, I'll buy Rough Riders, which is 440A, which is fine for a traditional knife, pocket knife. But I put this wee picture up. The knife, it's smaller, it fits inside the wallet. I have a Dazov mirror wallet and it fitted inside it. So I put the wee picture up. You can go on to Instagram and see it, and you can go on and see the conversation. But it seemed to infuriate Mr. Rick Hinder, who I didn't know followed me, which, and I'm not going to pick on Rick Hinder. That's not what I'm here to do. The man is an amazingly talented knife maker. And anybody who knows me knows that I think that, because I spent £286 on one of his knives, which is my absolute favourite. I bought it when my father passed away. I hadn't really got anything from him. Then I got a wee bit of his money. Oh, a wee bit of his money, that sounds terrible. But I got a wee bit of money that came from the house, selling the house and stuff. And I wanted to remember him by it, so I bought this knife. But Rick came on and said that, long story short, he didn't approve of somebody copying his design. Absolutely fine. But the only thing that gets me about this is there's so many people out there now that get on about clones and copies and what. Why does this only happen in our knife world? Why does it not happen in the traditional knife world? I'll tell you for why. Because ours is worth more money. And that's the simple fact. Ours is worth more money. So Rick Hinder's designed his knives that are made in America. Brilliant. Buy them all day long. Absolutely. He is an amazing knife designer. But he designed a Hinder and then gave the design to Kershaw, who then get it made in China at a cheap rate with cheap labour so that they can keep the price down, and then Rick will get a percentage or whatever way he works it out. To me, once you do that, you have no right, because you know that knife's going to be made in China and it will be copied like every other knife. There's the boss coming in behind me. You know that every other knife that goes to China will get copied if they think they can make a buck on it. They don't have the same laws as us. So I'm just going to make this really clear now that on my channel, you see, if I fancy something and it's a clone or it's a copy, and it's a copy of, half the times I don't know what I'm buying, whether they're copies or something or not. I'm not that knowledgeable. But just remember, this is my channel and my morals. I don't mind buying anything from anywhere, because if I did, I wouldn't have phones, I wouldn't have anything, because they're all copies. They're all blooming copies. What I will never ever do is buy a copy and pretend it is a Benchmade. I'll never buy a copy and tell you it's a Benchmade, or I'll never try to sell somebody once. Now that's my morals. There's so many people out there in this world don't have my morals, but I'm not responsible for them. I'm only responsible for me. So if I buy a knife because I like it and I want it here in my house, in my collection, to look at and play with myself, I'm only telling you, I'm not asking for your permission. I'm not saying that to Rick. I probably did sound. I'm getting a wee bit uptight because I'm just getting tired of people telling me what I can and can't buy. It's my money. I'll buy what I want. And look, every car that's on the road, every lighter that's out there, every watch that's out there, it's all a copy. Why can't we just be like the traditional knives and enjoy knife makers and anybody has a bash at it? That's it. But no matter whether it's the tradition or not, as long as they're not trying to bluff you into buying their knife, and there's them sort of people, they do it with money. There's money launderers, there's forgers, they do it with anything, passports, everything. It's all out there. But if I buy something, it's because I want to, and it's my money. And you see, if you're going to give off, from now on, anybody that gives off, I'm not even going to heart your comment. I'm just going to leave it, because it's not worth me fighting and having a raised blood pressure over trying to get annoyed about it. It's not going to annoy me from now on, okay? This is genuine. I love it to death. My carry for today, I have no idea who makes it, because there's no name on it. It says S35VN on that. I haven't a clue. It's titanium. I believe it's titanium. Titanium pocket clip. Cost me buttons compared to anything that was made with a maker's name on it. But I don't know if it's a copy of something. No idea. It's a little small knife with a hole in the front. There you go. Wouldn't have a clue. But I got it from GearBest because I liked it. And I liked it as it's got a wee frame lock. It's solid. It's a great knife. Cuts, strops easy. That's it. Rant over. Rant over. But that is it. I mean, just let it go. Don't try to cheat somebody or tell a lie. That's your responsibility as a person. Don't try to lie to somebody, and don't try to cheat them. And don't try to make money illegally off them. Illegally as in, if you're a knife maker and somebody makes a clone, take them to court. But if you're not prepared to do that, well then, then the knife design maybe had changed enough that you wouldn't have got it through court. I don't know, I'm only surmising. But I buy things that I like. I don't buy too many clones. But I'll buy things that are similar. Things that are similar. There you go. But you're not going to mistake that for that. Surely to goodness. You're not going to mistake a $20 Ganzo with it's written all over it for that. There's no name on this, and there was no name on the other one. It was Fury Gear on it. It was yesterday. It wasn't a clone. It was copy. And I'm sorry. It was actually dearer. The one that I bought was dearer than the Cinder. I think you can get the Cinder for under $10. This was about $23, $20 from GearBest. So there you go. I hope that was of some sort of interest. And if you're just starting a channel, don't listen and don't be persuaded. Be your own person. Give yourself time. You don't have to argue and fight like I do sometimes. Or you don't have to get upset like I do sometimes. But just enjoy the hobby and stop worrying about, if you're a budget person, don't worry about what other people are telling. Buy what you want and when in your budget. If they don't like it, there's plenty of other channels to watch. And unless you're in this hobby to make money, which I don't know how you do unless you get million subscribers and donate half your life to making channels. This is fun. I love seeing what other people buy. Should it be a clone? Should it be a cheap knife? Should it be an expensive knife? Doesn't matter. Now, cup of tea, waiting to be finished. All the very best. I'm away. Take care. And by the way, 9 o'clock UK time tonight. It'll be tonight for us, but it'll be the afternoon for you across the shuck and different times, Canada, Australia, whatever. Paddy's had a live chat tonight, every Sunday night, 9 o'clock UK time, which is usually sometime in the afternoon, and it varies all up and down the States or whatever. But anywhere in Europe, whatever, please come over. Live chat tonight, as every Sunday night, 9 p.m. UK time. And I hope to see you there, and we could maybe follow this conversation on there tonight. I think it might just be the topic. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye now. All the very best.